Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video. Thank you for joining us. Today we are doing a super exciting lesson. There's actually 3 parts to this. So cool. It's for all the beginner drummers out there. So if you are more advanced drummer and you're watching this, hoping to get some really cool lick or chop out of this, it's not gonna happen. This is gonna be a basic video just to get all the beginner drummers out there playing their very first drum beats. Maybe you've never touched a drum set before. Maybe you're just showing some interest and you're deciding whether or not you want to do it. You should really do it because it's awesome. But regardless of the situation you're in, this is for you. This is for all the beginner drummers out there that have never played drums before or have just started playing drums. And maybe they just want to get into it and learn their first drum beats. So that is what we're going to do today. I'm doing this video in association with my awesome family, Yamaha Music South Africa. If you don't know, myself and Yamaha are super passionate about music and about new people getting into music, so it's perfect. So jumping into it, we are going to look at 3 types of grooves which are super common, super popular, used in tons of different songs, and these 3 types of grooves are going to get you going, going to get you started, and you can already play to some tunes by just knowing these 3 drum beats. So what we're looking at is quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes. You might be thinking, what on earth is this guy talking about, quarters, 8ths, and 16ths? But we are going to discuss everything in these videos. Okay, so quarter notes. What is a quarter note? I'm sure that's the first question you're asking. I came here to learn drums and now I'm hearing about quarter notes. A quarter note is pretty much the foundation for everything. If you can have a strong quarter note pulse, that is where music is. That is where music sits. Everybody actually, without even knowing it, feels a quarter note, which is so killer. So even the guys are like, I've got no rhythm, I can't play drums. There's no way. You actually do. Because if you're at a concert or you're in your car listening to music, watching a band at a concert, in your car listening to music, you're at home listening to music, what you do without even knowing it or realizing it is you either bob your head to music, to the beat. If you're driving, you might be tapping your hand on the steering wheel. If you're sitting at home, you might even be just tapping your foot. So without knowing it, you are actually feeling quarter notes, which is pretty cool. So let's say you're at a concert, you're watching a band, look around you. People have got the head bobbing thing going on. That is feeling quarter notes. But if you put it into a technical thing, it can confuse everything. So that's why we're going to keep it simple. So quarter note, it's just that timekeeper. So whenever you get confused about what a quarter note is, put on some music and just bob your head to the music. That way you're going to feel quarter notes, which is awesome. So now we're going to discuss a counting system we're going to use. Not too difficult. We are going to count up to 4. If you cannot do that, just head over to sadrummeracademy.com. We've got this killer package to show you how to count to 4. It's really awesome. It's in depth. It's amazing. I'm kidding. We have nothing like that. I'm sure you can count up to 4. If you can't, you're going to have a problem in more things in drums. Counting up to 4, most people can do. It's super simple. Another thing I noticed when I was thinking about this was a lot of people count in time, which is so strange. So you go to anybody, let's say you go into your office today, go up to somebody and say to them, hey man, count up to 4 for me. What you're going to notice is they'll count in time naturally. They'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. No one's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. They're actually going to count in a quarter note pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now tell them, when you get to 4, go back to 1 and count to 4 again. I guarantee you they're not going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. They're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Already, you are feeling a bar. So, a bar in music, there are tons of different time signatures, but we are focusing on 4/4 time signature, which is also known as common time, because 95% of the songs that you hear on the radio are going to be in 4/4. So, you don't have to worry about all these other crazy time signatures. 4/4 common time, that's where you're at. What that is counting up to 4 and going back to the 1. That is 4/4. And that 4 count is called a bar. So when you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, that's your new bar. That's a little bit of music technicalities there, but now you have them. We're not going to go deep into that just yet, but now at least you know them. So if I do say bars or that kind of thing, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so jumping into it, what we're going to do is we're going to add one more element to this. So in the next lesson, as I mentioned, we're going to do a thing called eighth notes. But what I'm going to do in this lesson is I'm going to add an eighth note count. So everything we do in the beginning, we are going to count And please count, get used to the count. It really helps you so much to count in the beginning. So we're saying that the counting system we're going to use, so a quarter note count is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple enough. But now we're going to add something in there. Between each count, we're going to say and. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you might be asking, why are we putting an and in there? Top things why I like to put an and in there now is because first, it gets your spacing perfect. So if you go 1 and 2 and, you're spacing out those quarter notes super, super nicely. The other reason why I like doing it is because when we move on to eighth notes, we actually start playing those ands. And because you've been counting them throughout this lesson and throughout your practice, it makes it so much easier to add ands in because they are already there. Another reason why I like to do that is because if you go to somebody, for example, like at your office, that little task I want you to do, and you say count to 4, they're probably going to count pretty quickly. They're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. But what happens with that is the gap between 1 and 2, the gap between 2 and 3 and 4, that gap gets smaller, if that makes sense. If you get used to counting pretty quick and that gap being smaller, when we move on to eighth notes, you're going to struggle because now you have to play everything quicker. And I've seen that with students. When they get their first beat down, the one that we're doing today, what happens is they play it super quick. And then when I move on to eighth notes, those gaps are so tiny and now they have to fill in ands, but it's super, super quick. And everything in the beginning you want to do slow. So those are a few of the reasons why I like to count as eighth notes now. So if you are thinking, why is this dude making me count this funny count on stuff I'm not even playing? Just trust me and trust the process. You'll see when we get to lesson 2 how much counting that and is going to help you. I promise you. So let's jump into the first step. The first step, we're only going to use 3 drums. So we're going to use hi-hats, snare drum, and kick drum. But this first step, we are only going to start with the hi-hats. So all we want to do for this first step is get a comfortable quarter note pulse happening. So what we're going to do, on the hi-hat, we're going to play beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. And remember, you're going to count in between them. So you're going to get the rhythm of quarter notes happening in this first step, and you're going to get comfortable with counting this and in between. So on your hi-hats, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You want to keep that count, and you just want to keep that constant quarter note pulse playing the hi-hats on 1, 2, 3, and 4, and in between. Doing that, you're going to have it. So let's jump into it. I'm going to play it for you. I'm going to do a few bars of just the quarter notes on the hi-hats. I'm going to count with it so you can hear that and in between. Let's check it out. Step 1, quarter notes on the hi-hats.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
So there you have it. There's your quarter notes on the hi-hats. And don't worry if it's not feeling good yet or you're still battling, just spend time on it. Nothing is going to come quickly. Any instrument takes a lot of time. Anything in life that you're doing new takes a lot of time, takes a lot of repetition. So if you have to sit there and just draw in those quarter notes, counting your eights, getting comfortable with that, 100%. Spend as much time as you need on it. There's no hurry, no competition. Just have fun and put that time in. If you're not comfortable moving to the second step yet and you want to spend some more time on that, please do that. That is 100% fine. You don't have to rush it. If you do feel comfortable, if you felt yourself getting that nice pulse on the hi-hats, quarter notes happening, you're feeling comfortable with counting the ands in between, you're counting it loud so everybody can hear you, so there's proof that you're counting, then you're ready to move on to this next step. Let's jump into it. What we're going to be doing is now you've got your pulse, right? So on 1, 2, 3, 4, that's your hi-hat count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. On beat 2 and 4, now you're really going to see where counting really helps you. On beats 2 and 4, we are going to add in a snare drum. So you're going to have hi-hats on beat 1, 1, and on beat 2, boom, you're going to bring hi-hat and snare drum, you're going to hit those directly together. What you might feel is there might misplace each other, where they're not hitting exactly together. What you can do then is, if you feel, man, this is sounding weird, you'll call that a flam, where the one note hits just before the other one. And you just feel that timing of the two notes hitting together is not quite happening, or the two drums hitting together is not quite happening. Just sit with that. Just sit with hi-hat and snare drum and just get your hands sitting together. Okay, so to sum the second step up, hi-hats stay the same. That's on chord notes. Beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 and 4, you bring the snare drum down. So you have hi-hats on 1 and snare and hi-hats 2 and hi-hats on 3 and snare and hi-hats on 4. Then you have your and. So let's check that out. I'm going to play it for you super slow. In the next step, I'll do one bar of just the hi-hats. So remember, a bar is your 4 counts: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Then we're going to bring the snare drum in on the second bar, and I'll just repeat that a few times to get it down. Okay, there you have it. Now, I'm sure you're starting to feel something happening. Normally by this stage, with students that I teach in person, they start feeling like, oh, something is happening here. I can actually hear it starting to sound like something. And that's another thing I want to mention. When you play stuff slow, which is super important for now, you don't want to worry about speed at all. Speed will come later. What you might notice is it's not sounding like anything. You're just kind of hitting. You know you're getting the notes right. You know that you're counting right and they're landing on the right counts. But you might think, it doesn't sound like anything. That is perfectly fine, because all you're focusing on now is just getting your placements and your count right. When you've repeated that a billion times and it's muscle memory, then you'll start slowly pushing your speed. And as you get to a certain tempo, you'll actually feel the rhythm of it. So trust the process, especially with keeping it slow. It can be frustrating, but really trust the process. So if you have those down, you're comfortable with the chord notes on the hi-hats, all 4 counts, you've got that snare drum happening on beats 2 and 4, we're going to move to the last step of this chord note lesson, and we're going to add in bass drum or kick drum. You're going to hear those 2 terms, whichever one is fine. So let's call it bass drum. So you have bass drum on beats 1 now. Bass drum is going to go on beats 1 and beats 3. You're going to keep that snare drum on 2 and 4. Beats 3, you're going to add the bass drum in with the hi-hats. Beat 4, bring your hands down with the snare drum. Same process is going to apply. If you feel that your kick is not quite in time with your hi-hats, just sit with that and hit your kick and try and get those notes placing directly together, and leave out everything else and just practice that. Then try and put it all together. So let's check out the last step. This is the most exciting step, because when I'm teaching a private student at the studio, it is so awesome to see their face when they actually get this right. Because as you bring in that kick and everything starts happening, and you start hearing that drum beats and you start freaking out because you're like, oh, I'm playing my first drum beat. This is so cool. It is such a cool feeling. And I can see with every student, there's a certain thing that happens in their face when that comes together. This brightened up smile, because they can feel it. And that is such a cool feeling, because music and drumming is all about feel. And it's going to give you and encourage you just to take it to the next step. So let's check out this last step. Bass drum and hi-hat on beat 1, snare drum and hi-hat on beat 2, bass drum and hi-hat on beat 3, snare drum and hi-hat on beat 4. When you are comfortable and you've got your countdown, please join me for the second lesson of this batch, and that is eighth notes. Till then, practice hard. I will see you in the next lesson when you've got chord notes down. Cheers, guys.